Love podcasts, hate nonsense. The Politics Show podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa.
Woo! Awooga.
Aruga. Eyes out on stalks.
How are you, Ed?
I'm great, thank you.
Who are you eyes out on stalks thing? Me?
The audience.
You're objectifying the audience.
Yeah. We've got the hottest audience in podcasts.
Amen, brother. Amen. Sexy audience.
Absolutely. Each one of them is an absolute
Met a lot of them.
stone cold stunner.
Met a lot of them when we did the live show in the West End. Absolutely none.
Zero uggos.
Yeah. It was... No, I'm not. No, I won't say that.
So curious what that was.
Something about 500 people, 3 of us, something like that.
Getting... No, I won't say it.
Yeah, see? You don't want to make the joke.
No, I won't. I shan't.
You don't want to make the joke.
It was a Bonnie Blue situation.
How are we? Always consider myself more of a Lily Phillips, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the difference between you and I. You subscribe to Lily Phillips. I subscribe to Bonnie Blue.
Every man has 2 wolves inside him.
You're looking at numbers 91 and 92, pal.
Would you rather be number 1 or number 100?
1.
Yeah.
Would you rather be number 49 or 50? 49
Tomato.
49 or 100,
isn't it? Again, does it matter?
But then you get to, you get to be...
Would I rather be the 49th guy that has sex with a porn star for 2 minutes or the 100th guy that has sex with a porn star for 2 minutes?
The 100th one is like...
You're still having sex with a porn star for 2 minutes.
That's the final step up to Everest.
The death zone above 8,000 metres.
Oxygen strapped on.
I've been told one of them's going for 1,000.
Yeah. That's a feat.
It is, because when I was told that, I pulled out my calculator app and worked out how many minutes there are in a full 24-hour long day.
Right.
It's 1,444. So if you tried to do 1,000 and you allocated a minute to each of your sexual partners, that would mean you would be having sex for, more than 2/3 of the day.
Yeah.
Which is most of your waking hours.
Absolutely. You don't have time to do much else. See all the people who participate in this.
Yeah.
We should
track them down.
Round them up. I think they should be in
prison. What do you
I think they should be interred.
What, professional sex workers?
No, but they're not.
It's not very woke of you, Ed.
They're not. I'm not Lily.
Never, Lily.
Numbers 1 through 1,000.
I thought you were a Bonnie.
Sorry,
guy.
no, neither. Obviously,
Yeah.
I don't think any woman should go to prison. I think numbers 1 through 1,000 are probably 1,000 of the biggest wrong-uns in this country.
I think they're just porn actors, aren't they?
No, I think maybe have I fallen for the mystique, for the kayfabe of pornography?
She's not his stepmom, Ed. She never is. We're going to be talking about the American election in a way, I guess.
I kind of think we are.
Go on.
Because I think I've had quite a lot of discussions in the office about the appropriateness of Lily Phillips' behaviour, or like what does it say about like sexual politics in the UK and about like modern masculinity. And is it like, one, like is what she's done or claims to do wrong? What does it say about the men participating? What does it say about their attitudes to women?
Okay.
What does that say about masculinity?
I'm kind of hesitant to impose any kind of like moral judgment on, like, if you have sex with one person, if you have sex with 100 people.
No,
I mean that's up to you, right?
I think the point of tension isn't on Lily. I think it's being like part of the mob,
right?
Part of the 100. Or the question is that an appropriate? Is that a fine thing to do as a young man, or is it just or is it just 100 cases of 2 consenting adults having sex?
I was in my head. It was literally going to be what 2 consenting adults do with each other is up to them. But then when you multiply that by 100
in the same environment,
yeah,
and is part of that.
I mean, if they're all into it, what's the problem? You know?
Yeah.
If they're all are they being paid? I presume she's being paid.
I assume she's making a lot of money from it, but also there's a thing about being like the attractiveness to...
What you're kind of implying that you might have a reservation or a hesitation around it.
I think I do, but I don't...
What is it?
There's something disconcerting about wanting to be... I think there's a domination element to it, or like a subjugation thing of being like, I'm the 90th guy to fuck this girl who's only good for fucking.
Right.
I think there's that element.
Sounds like you said that before.
No,
it's me, number 90. Mask off.
In the footage of the shoes, it's just like my shoes.
Get around. These shoes were not in the video.
They were just like Air Maxes.
It's like 99 pairs of Air Max and you and a pair of Doc Martin loafers.
Or then maybe I'm just disconcerted that there are 100 people willing to do that. Because I think
what's disconcerting about it?
Because I think if you're willing to do this, how are you behaving are you behaving that way in your sex life? Otherwise, is that like, it's not, I think it's a modern abnormal thing. I think I'm being quite moralistic. I'm not actually sure if this is like something I think of a I'm more just like speculating about the sexual politics of what does this teach young men about. They see 100 men queuing up to have sex with a woman, and they think, me and the lads are going to go out and
the queue
rail one. I think also
do they? I mean, it's just
But then I think also as well. I think I've heard anecdotally pretty grim stories about lads I know in Glasgow and like their sexual behaviour with like one woman.
So I guess the essentially what you're saying is like mass consumption of pornography is it feeding into people's actual sex lives? So that's basically what you're saying. And I want to say her name was it Fiona? Do you remember, Laura, the interview we did? We had an expert on. We talked about this very thing, and we spent about an hour talking about it. So I won't even attempt to paraphrase what she said, but the answer was essentially yes, and that there are more ethical ways of producing sexual entertainment than what we currently have. But part of me just keeps coming back to, with this specific example, it's like, why not? It's like, if everyone's a consenting adult,
if you want
to
get off like that,
if you want to have sex with 100 people, if you want to be one of the 100, cool.
But it's also, I don't really have any objection to the. But I think it's gendered as well. I think that is like, in my head, the 100 guys have some sort of the upper hand of the power dynamic, and ultimately Lily Phillips absolutely has the. She's orchestrated it entirely.
I would say, maybe I'm wrong here, but if you have like 100 people queuing up outside your door to have sex with you,
you're quite a powerful person.
Yeah, maybe you're the one who's in control.
It's actually, does that make you a girl boss?
Maybe it does. I assume she's making a fair amount of cash from it. So
yeah, this wasn't even on the rundown, folks. This is all.
No, first on the rundown is what lessons can the Labour Party learn from the American election, and I did ask you how this connects to that, and you said it did.
Oh, because we were going to talk about young men. And
You're right,
and the manosphere.
We were going to talk. We are talking about young men.
Yes.
Victory for the podcast, then.
Absolutely.
Podcast election.
Congratulations to our colleagues, the Nelk Boys, Aidan Ross, Theo Vaughan. A win for podcasters. It's a win for all.
You say that when Trump...
You thank them.
Dana White takes to the stage as I just want to say thank you to the Nelk Boys.
Aidan Ross.
And of course, Joe Rogan.
Yep.
So, I mean, that was a kind of extraordinary moment. And I feel like...
That was through the looking glass.
The most explicit statement of what anyone who's been plugged into or is aware, cognizant of that media ecosystem has known for a long time, which is these media personalities have a huge amount of influence.
Definitely.
A huge amount of influence. And the kind of, first of all, I would just say, I think the Americans and American political parties have a much better understanding of digital content creation. And I guess as a result of that, younger voters but just it would almost be like running a campaign and only giving newspaper interviews after like the radio comes out, or only doing the radio after TV comes out, right? And not understanding that actually media has a ginormous swing on how these things go. You know, like Kennedy and the TV is a famous example, or Nixon and radio is the American example everybody uses. And that's happened digitally, right? There's this, whether it's, I don't know, someone on Twitch like Hassan Piker, or podcasts from the dirt left all the way through to like new right manosphere, like Donald Trump Jr. has his own podcast. Why do you think he has a podcast? He has it because it's a tool of influence. Mm-hmm. And I've said it before about the rest of his politics, right? With Rory Stewart, he has something that most politicians would kill for. Imagine if, as a politician, you spoke, and let's say it's 1 million people download an episode. 1 million people listen to you talk for half an hour. The Labour Party can't get 10,000 people to watch a live stream of a Keir Starmer speech. Yep. Rory Stewart provides a relatively similar, like, centrist take, and 1 million people listen. Like, that's an incredibly valuable, incredibly weighty tool for someone, for a political figure.
Do you know what I think is different?
Go on.
Because it's kind of, I think the difference between the US and the UK in that sphere is that the comparable creators, like to the Nelk Boys, to Logan Paul, to Jake Paul, people like that, in the UK, that's like the sidemen and like that. Yeah. I would say they are so unwilling to get involved in politics. Whereas Rory Stewart has an inherently political background and messaging, and people are listening to him are already engaged in politics, and it's not going to have the same ramifications because they aren't listening to Rory Stewart because they want to hear takes on football. But versus like if you had like the sidemen interviewing Keir Starmer, and Keir Starmer came across as someone who could hang and like do a fucking like
I'm picturing it
chubby
now.
bunnies challenge or something, like if and it was authentic, that would have a much greater effect than Rory Stewart.
You know when they do those dating shows? It's like Starmer stood on the other side of a door.
But I think if that is instead of Rory, Starmer shouldn't try and get on the rest of politics. Starmer should try and get on like the Fellas or something like much more like something much more
Filthy Fellas.
No, not Filthy Fellas. It's like it's Cal Freezy and the it's like you need that. That's the avenue they should approach rather than the already politically engaged podcast system.
Yeah, well, that's Trump playing golf with like Bryson DeChambeau and things like that. Yeah. It's understanding the digital content creation, and that actually maybe when you engage with digital, the way to do it is not to go, I don't know, on Channel 4 News' YouTube podcast
or here.
Yeah, well, they definitely don't come on here.
No, but also like Rachel Reeves should go on Saving Grace. That, like, but you're laughing at, but that's literally like what they do in America. In America, that's Kamala Harris on Call Me Daddy.
Yeah,
that is the approach. And Morgan McSweeney wants to hire like a head of digital for like the government to bypass the kind of media ecosystem. That if they want to get their messaging out to young people in any way that's effective, they do need to bypass. Because I think
Starmer does do. He's done high performance, hasn't he? He likes the high performance podcast.
Yeah, I think
he's done table manners.
That's weighty, and that's for an older generation. That's for like, I think people just look at things that are like online, like a podcast or on social media, and they just assume that's for young people. Like, oh, you're reaching out to young people.
Yeah.
In kind of the same way, was it Don Butler that did for the election, like the parody of 21 Seconds to Go?
Yeah.
And people were like, wow, the kids are going to love this. I was like, the kids weren't born. That song came out in the year 2000.
Yeah.
People who like that are Don Butler's age.
Yeah, and I like Dawn, but it's a little bit how do you do, fellow kids. Do you remember there was when TikTok just came out, and I think it was Lloyd Russell Moyle, and he was doing like a chicken dance on TikTok. He was like walking around going like,
yeah, that's a nice way to do it. Or it's like Matt Hancock's like drinking, like ranking what beers he likes the most, or he does like I'm just Ken Barbie thing. There's things like that which are.
Is he still posting?
I hope so.
I'm going to duck into Hancock TikTok, see what's happening there.
I really hope so. Yeah, I think there's a correct because an older person's video strategy would be like, oh, just post on TikTok, rather than what are the creators we can work with or the platforms we can go on to get our message out.
What forums do you think they should go on to then?
I think to be effective, like legitimately saving grace would be like an effective thing, like going on if you manage to get. But then there's also, I think there's no, another difference with the US is there's no cultural cash for the creator to engage with the Prime Minister. There's no like cool politicians in the UK. There's nothing to gain really from the creator engaging with Keir Starmer. It's entirely one-sided, that transaction.
That's true. Last post, July.
Oh, what is it?
He went on an ADHD podcast. It
Okay.
was an honour to share my personal journey with dyslexia and discuss how we can best support neurodivergent individuals.
That's very noble of him.
He appears to actually kind of pivoted to campaigning on neurodivergency.
He wanted to do that with us.
He did want to do that with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember now.
He wanted to do like specifically like a puff interview about dyslexia. And there'll be no questions about the pandemic. There'll be absolutely
Don't
nothing.
mention the affair.
We're just going to, what everyone knows before, being dyslexic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And we wanted... he wanted to do an interview. But the stipulation was that he would only be interviewed by a dyslexic child.
Oh, yeah.
That's what... Do you remember? They would come on, but he had to be interviewed by a child who had dyslexia.
And do you know what's unbelievable luck?
What?
Just outside the studio, there is like a resource centre for children with additional learning needs. So we could just go and pick one up.
But it was... No, but it wasn't like a 15-year-old.
No,
It was a primary school
like
age. It was a primary school age child that he wanted to be interviewed by.
Did we not talk about having an earpiece?
Yeah,
in the
no, we
chat?
were going to feed. I mean, he's gone, so we can just. We were going to agree to it, but have in ear with the kid, and the kid was going to begin with softball, and then it would be like, how do you sleep at night with the blood of 200,000 people on your hands?
That's so weird.
Yeah, unfortunately, the kid from Blue Peter wasn't down to do that,
No,
so it didn't come to fruition.
That is so fair enough.
Yeah, it's a wonder that no one wants to come on.
We're going to prank them. I'm not going to say who it was, but I remember we had to talk you out of another prank of a politician.
Can you talk around it without? I can't remember.
I just bleep this bit.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Do you remember
Oh yeah, that was going to be good.
But then we were like, well, no, let's not do that.
Well, yeah, because he's basically the only sort of person with any power in the country who comes on Politics Joe. So we're going to torch our relationship. What other podcasts? What podcast should Starmer do?
Ones that
Aidan Ross, Joe Rogan.
But I think that's the opposite. People in America can't vote for him.
No, but this is the really like Rogan is the biggest show in the world.
Rogan, go on Rogan. Oh, do you know what the James English podcast?
What's that?
Have you listened to the James English podcast?
Bro, have I listened to the James English podcast?
It's so funny.
It's good, yeah. There's some absolute all-timer clips from that show.
Oh, yeah. What's the guy where the guy just suddenly pivots to like Christianity like halfway through a sentence?
Yeah, there's some good stuff like that.
I'm fascinated by him.
English?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
What do you like about him?
I didn't say I liked him.
His Glaswegian patter.
Do you know his origin story?
No, I'd love to know it.
So there was a really short-lived Towie style show set in Glasgow called Glow. I think it was just on Facebook, or it was just on it was quite a narrow platform.
There was a Welsh spin-off as well called The Valleys.
The Valleys was bigger.
Okay.
The Valleys was on MTV.
It was, yeah.
This was on Glasgow Live's Facebook page or something like that.
Sorry. That's quite pony, isn't it?
No offense
That's
to our
village.
good friends at Glasgow Live, obviously.
No, never.
But and now he's Now he's giving Tommy Robinson 2 hours just to talk, and he's not going to chat. He's just like, Tommy Robinson's like, yeah, there's like 100 million immigrants coming to the UK, and Jimmy's like, no way, man.
And how does that make you feel? Yeah. There's a lot like that. Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO.
Yes. I do think that's a different flavour, though. I think that's quite like earnest and quite
it's quite a high performance.
It's quite a high performance, or like How to Fail, or those are podcasts you'd expect a politician to go on to, or things like that. Like,
do you think a politician would do How to Fail?
I'm going to bet they have done. Should look it up.
Yeah, look it up. Yeah, I just find it interesting because I don't think you need the podcast. Can you hear that? Are we picking up that soaring? Yeah. Should we wait? I think it sounds like he's brushing something.
Diane Abbott has been on How to Fail.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone, that's the pick, isn't it?
Wrote the book.
No, Elizabeth Day wrote the book.
Sorry, excuse me. There'll be other ones. Ed Miliband also probably wrote the book.
Yeah. What is going on out there?
Someone's getting... there was an observation I saw that Jeremy Clarkson has it within him to be the Trump of the UK, in that celebrity running for office and achieving. I suppose if we had a presidential system, that's the argument.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. To be honest with you, I don't think I could think of or name another celebrity who carries the same, who has that like analogous TV personality, ginormous following, speaks. I mean, look, he's kind of entering politics with the farm stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the start, but I don't think he actually wants to be like Prime Minister.
No, I don't think he wants to, but you think he could. Do you know who else could?
Tell me.
Anton Deck. Universal goodwill.
Universal goodwill.
Towards Anton Deck. Probably not the people in the car crash.
Not sure. Ant, yeah.
Probably not. Deck.
He became
Deck could. You know when Ed Miliband betrayed like, David Miliband?
Yeah.
That's Deck betraying Ant.
I think he loses all of his power without Ant.
It's like
Thanos and the Infinity Stones.
Wrong.
He's got nothing without Ant.
Ant needs Deck. Deck doesn't need Ant.
You can't have yin without yang.
But
it's a synergy
like,
between the two of them.
No, this is it.
I will only accept the premise of this entirely theoretical argument if we can create a situation in which the Prime Minister is done on a timeshare where it's Ant Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Deck Tuesday, Thursday. No one on the weekends.
Okay.
Like a divorce.
Right. Wham needed George Michael. George Michael didn't need Wham.
Say Wham again.
Wham.
Yeah. It's good, that. Wham! What's the guy in Anchorman? Whammy! Do you not remember the sports guy?
I didn't know that was his nickname.
No, this was his catchphrase.
Oh, I don't remember that, to be honest.
You don't remember the sports anchor in Anchorman?
I know exactly.
He wears a cowboy hat.
Yeah, I know exactly, but I think there's other things in Anchorman that I remember more. This is the ultimate...
You're performatively doing this to be like, Ollie is old because he's like a millennial who quotes Anchorman.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Because I like Anchorman.
Prove it.
Well,
this is now a dude. Hey,
See, I'm in.
Yeah, male friendship.
Oh.
Who needs a well? No, sorry, we do have a podcast.
You just like going to sleepovers and watching Anchorman and Dodgeball, and that's what male friendship is. Sometimes Blades of Glory.
That was it. But now that we're in our 30s,
I'm not
discuss those. Yes, right. Discuss these things on a podcast. Clarkson's going to be. I think the farmer stuff. I think he's going to make some waves.
Yeah,
I think he'll get them to back down on it.
Do you know there's a split within the Farmers Union?
Yeah, so Clarkson is and there's another guy called like Oli Agriblogs on Instagram. The kind of like farm influencers are going on the 19th,
even though,
but the NFU isn't.
No, the NFU is going to be there.
Oh, I thought they weren't.
No, there is like
back and forth. Is there?
So there's going to be 1,800 farmers going in and out of the lobby in Westminster, and they said this is the maximum amount of people, we can't have a demonstration. And so farmers like Clarkson, some farmers, it was on the front page of the Telegraph yesterday, it said, rebel farmers threaten ports, threaten to blockade ports. And if that was just up oil, I think the headline would be slightly different.
No, would there? I think, and I think there could be like a little bit of Gilets jaunes adjacent action in this country. I think that could happen. I think that could work.
Yeah,
I think that's a goer.
with the farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are they going to blockade ports, slurry all over the streets?
Well, I think probably just like bring a muck spreader down to Westminster. I love it when the French do that.
They do it all the
They
time.
like roll hay bales into like the Ministry of Defence or something.
French people, there's a reason they don't have a monarchy anymore, and we do.
Stones. What lessons do you think the Labour Party should learn from Trump's victory?
Oofed.
Is it go on podcasts?
I think it's certainly part of it. I suppose how much do you ascribe the victory to cultural things like that versus economic factors? Is it just every incumbent government, not every, a lot of the incumbent government's got an absolute kicking in an election as a circumstance of inflation?
I think a lot. So I'm pretty sure basically half the world went to the polls this year, right? 4 billion people or something voted or will have voted by the end of the year. And basically every single incumbent government has either lost dramatically or taken a serious kicking and is now in coalition. The only example I think running counter is probably Mexico, where what's his chops? Manuel Lopez Obrador, his like protege, took over and won an election. I think Sheinbaum, isn't it? Sheinbaum, something like that. But other than that, basically every incumbent that was in government during the COVID inflation spike and Ukraine inflation spike has lost. But I also think that's a bit of a get out of jail free for the Democrats.
Yeah, no,
because I think it was a bad campaign. I think Kamala was a bad candidate. I think it's hubris. I think it's arrogance, and that's a lesson for the Labour Party, right? Is that the way that they approached it was, Biden's gone, time to girl boss, first black woman, first woman president, let's go. Mixed messaging, didn't have any consideration for the fact that up until, the day before, she'd been telling the country that Joe Biden was mentally well, sharp as a tack, and able to run the country. It was plain to see to everybody else that wasn't the case. So why would they trust a single word you have to say? And I think anyway, American election campaigns run for 2, 3, 4 years, really. Yeah. She had 3 months running as the incumbent of an unpopular government.
Yep.
That's probably not enough time to separate, discover your points of difference with the current administration, communicate them to the electorate, and make something. I don't think she had enough time. And I think you'd have to be an incredibly strong candidate to achieve that anyway, and she wasn't. There
was also an attitude, I think, that 2016 was an abnormality, and that 2020 was a return to normality. And that's simply, they had Trump 2016, didn't like him, so they got rid of him 2020, and obviously they're not going to like him.
Yeah,
this
time round, they voted for him knowing full well what a Trump presidency looks like, because they've had one already. Yeah, in many ways, it's actually a rejection of like Obama, the Obama era. It's like the end of the Obama era, right? Rather than
with the shifting coalitions within the party's voters as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. It's utterly insane when you look at how the white working class, and it's always sort of slightly reductive to talk in demographics with these sort of catch-all terms, but it's with America's being so large, it's kind of how you talk about politics there. They used to vote for the Democrats, they don't anymore. Trump increases his margin with basically every single demographic group. It's one of those, talking about it before polling day, being like, well, this election comes down to white women and whether or not they will back Kamala or go with Trump, and it's kind of redundant because every demographic
that's why I think
swung to him.
That's why I think it's the economy,
right?
I think that's because that's such a macro issue, affects everybody. That has driven it being like, well, okay, yeah, I'm a black person. I think I would like a black person in office.
Yeah, but
ultimately, I have been hurt by inflation, and I want to punish the government that did that more.
Yeah, and I think that's more an idea of sort of like insane coastal identity politics idiots in the democratic establishment who think that, which is essentially a pretty racist idea, right? That essentially think that representation is enough to secure the vote of someone like that, whereas in actual fact, it's the material conditions. And the interesting thing, the challenge goes like this then, is like, well, America is ahead of its G7 peer countries when it comes to the economic recovery. The job market is strong, inflation's coming down, it's growing faster than comparable countries, so the economy's going great, no?
But then they don't feel that.
No, and that's the key point.
That's the point, isn't it? If people don't feel better off.
Yeah, because
it's like the Tories, and the Tories talking about inflation's coming down. Our plan is working.
Yeah,
because like eggs are triple the price.
Yes, exactly that. There's this obsession with GDP and GDP growth. The key metric is inflation, and just because inflation's back down at 2%, I know anyone who listens to this podcast doesn't need me to explain to them that doesn't actually mean that prices are decreasing, right? It just means they're not going up as fast as they were before. And if your food shop has increased genuinely by 50% over the last 4 years, you don't give a fuck. You don't give a fuck that GDP growth is 1.7%. Yeah. It's like my credit card debt is spiraling.
Yep.
It costs me, I don't know, an extra $20 to fill up my Land Cruiser. And it sounds ridiculous and reductive, but genuinely the price of gas is how a lot of Americans judge the strength of the economy. It's driving past the petrol station, seeing what the price is. And I think woe betide anyone that thinks that because we've elected a Labour government, the cost of living crisis has gone away. You know, people are still very, very hard up. And those economic lessons, I think it's also, and I'd be interested to hear what you think about this, Ed, a lesson in kind of delivery. You know, delivery isn't enough. And I mean, as in like delivering on policy goals, delivering GDP growth doesn't cut it. Because Biden actually, done pretty well. Bad hand, probably. You have to be able to tell a story. And I think that's one of Trump's greatest skills, assets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And connects to the media strategy as well. Let's say that, because the adults are now back in the room and Keir Starmer, by the end of this parliament, gets us to, 1.7% GDP growth and says, mission accomplished, let's finish the job. People won't give a shit.
No, I think there's a danger to slip into a sense of arrogance or complacency. Hubris. Being like, oh, well,
hubris.
We're the goodies. We're back in charge. Everyone knows we're the goodies. So we don't have to work. We don't have to sell ourselves to the country again. We don't have to have a mission statement. We don't have to have a journey that we're constantly telling people. We need to communicate our wins better.
Yeah.
Essentially, because that's what people like Reform, and they have a narrative. They have the narrative of like the woke super state shadowy forces are making this country evil, or doing things, or they're the blob is restricting growth and importing all these illegal immigrants to wreck the country, and that's obviously bollocks, but it's compelling.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason. So I've listened to a lot of the kind of podcast appearances now, including the sort of the triple threat on election week on Rogan, where he had Trump, Vance, and then Musk.
Yeah,
one off each one for like nearly 3 hours. And I was listening to Trump and Vance, and the Vance one was kind of extraordinary, to be honest with you, because the Vance one is when he's talking about socialized risk and private reward, which is something that Mariana Mazzucato has come on here and spoken about. It's generally viewed as like a progressive left-wing idea. He's talked about the danger of the big pharmaceutical monopolies. You're kind of going, you're left on the economy. You're other than the tax breaks for billionaires. You're very right on culture. You're sort of left on the economy, and maybe less with Vance. But I think I probably have slightly more of a soft spot for him, having read his book. and that's probably colouring my judgment of his podcast appearance. But certainly Trump on Theo Von, he's talking about his brother's alcoholism in like a very meaningful way. And Theo Von's also funny, although I think also not actually who he says he is. Were we talking about this the other day?
He's not who he says he is.
He's like the son of a Polish aristocrat or something.
Yeah. Laura sent me his name in the chat today. It's like Theodore Kapitale von Bukowski III.
Sounds like a Polish aristocrat.
Oh, it does. But Dad was also like 70 when he was born. So it doesn't seem like he grew up in like the family of a Polish aristocrat.
Yeah. So he's like being funny and saying things like, when I do cocaine, I feel like an owl. And then...
because of Trump learning what cocaine feels like.
Yeah. Trump's asking him, like, what does it feel like? Yeah, when you do cocaine, what does it feel like? And it's interesting, and you kind of... I don't know, it makes you like him.
But also,
he has a discernible personality. He's talking about Barron. He's talking about the podcast strategy, and he's like, my son, he's very smart, and he's also very tall. And it's like, he is very tall. That's true.
I've observed that too, Donald.
No, but I think what I'm trying to get at is, he has a personality.
Yep.
And I think on shows like that, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right? If you're going on a program that's hosted by a comedian, and you can't chops it up because you're programmed to communicate by filter, you're programmed. I guess all politicians have it, and I think I heard Ezra Klein talking about this, where he said, every single politician has that filter. Even Trump has that filter to some extent. And basically what we discern as being a good politician and a bad politician is how quickly that filter is able to work. So someone like Pete Buttigieg, it's basically in real time. Like, he already knows his constituencies, what he can and can't say, and finds a way to talk around it. A bad robotic politician is having to do that calculation constantly, and so it comes across as really formulaic and boring. But I think the reason Trump hangs in that environment is because he's relatively disinhibited, right? He doesn't really have that filter to an extent. So it's interesting to listen to him talk to Joe Rogan for 3 hours. I would certainly listen to it again. I don't think if I would have to listen to it for work purposes, but if Starmer went on Rogan, I'm not thinking like,
well, this is going to be gold. Do you think there's danger of the Conservative Party learning
the wrong lessons?
Wrong lessons from because I think
what do you think the wrong lessons are?
I think the wrong lesson would look at the Republicans and look at their incredibly culture war-y campaign.
I don't know what you mean, mate. I thought Kamala and Donald had exactly the same policy platform. There's
no
difference between the two of them.
No. But I think, like, if you look at the stuff like, well, the Haitians are eating the cats and dogs, and having people
mass deportation,
like having the prayer around, like the prayer circle around Trump, like the incredibly right-wing conservative, mostly conservative, like cultural signifiers, like the accusing the Democratic Party of being the party. Like, she's for they, them, I'm for you. Like, shit like that.
I'm sorry. That is genius level political messaging. I'm sorry.
I don't think that had an impact.
You kidding me?
Not that. I think it had some impact, but I think I think the economy was such a large thing, and that was just like, that was part of it. And I think the danger for the Conservatives is looking at that and going, well, they did those things, ignoring the context of the economic circumstances and just hammering. Because you saw at PMQs, Kevin Badenoch's first question was like, why aren't you being nice to Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Forgetting in this country, we don't like Donald Trump.
Yeah. Look, I think the economy is don't get me wrong.
I think it's a pithy phrase, but I don't think it swung both.
It was something like, I think it was like somewhere between 60 and 70% of people in the exit poll said, well, what's the key issue, most important issue for you? And it was the economy, I think. But nonetheless, Kamala Harris is for they, them, Donald Trump is for you, is an incredibly powerful political slogan. And I'm pretty sure it was the most, I'm going off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it's the most commonly run TV advertising campaign in the swing states. And I don't think they would be running it as relentlessly as they did unless either through focus groups or whatever form of tracking they impose on it, that actually it was pretty effective. I think it was pretty effective. I'm not saying, sorry, that like woke issues was the deciding factor in this election. I think it was part of it. But I think that was a very effective piece of political messaging.
even if that's true, I'm not sure that works in a British context necessarily, because I think that.
So what are you saying?
I think like trans issues and cultural war issues like that remain quite a niche obsession in a way that, despite kind of media interest in these things, I'm not convinced that people are frightened of they thems.
No, I don't. I'm not sure they are, but
or to go heavy on those things, which I think is Kemi Badenoch's instincts.
I mean, they do though, don't they? It's the classic attack line is Keir Starmer doesn't know what a woman is.
Yeah,
you know. So
and he won the election.
Yeah. I think the lesson that the Labour Party will probably learn and get wrong is that they will pivot to a more hardline immigration policy, because I think they will look at Trump's mass deportation campaign. They'll look at whatever it is. I think it's like 2 million illegal border crossings, and they'll go, "That's what undid Biden," looking at his relative success on the economy. And it wouldn't surprise me if Labour sort of pivoted to that socially and culturally right, and maybe had some kind of, maybe not Rwanda, but some kind of illegal small boats based policy. And I think that's the wrong lesson to learn. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless.
What would the right lesson be?
I think it's telling a story. I think it's genuinely, it sounds wishy-washy, but I think it's like being an effective political communicator. I think it's appreciating...
I don't think Starmer has that in him, to be perfectly honest. Like the constant... I think the complaint about Starmer is that he's not terribly charismatic. And I think a story centers around... Actually, no, we talked about it. He talks about his story is, I'm the son of a toolmaker.
Yeah.
And everyone laughs at him.
Yeah.
Because I think a different political actor, political communicator sells that effectively.
Yeah. I think I take your point, and I don't think he has it in him. That doesn't mean the Labour Party can't pivot towards its effective communicators and give those people more prominence.
Who do you think they are?
Miliband, Darren Jones, Bridget Phillipson, David Lammy. Yeah, I'd probably have those people more front facing. I think another key lesson is about constituencies, and the thing that the Trump campaign has done twice, the Brexit campaign has done once, is recognizing that the biggest constituency of people in this country are the people that don't vote. And if you can mobilize those people, and how you get to them requires, in the case of Brexit, for example, very effective Facebook advertising and Facebook messaging. In the case of Trump, this time round, it's going on the podcasts that have millions and millions of listeners who do not consume traditional media. Get your message, take your message directly to those people. And I think this is part. I think there was a bit of herding with the polling, right? That people were they were scared, and no one got this, and they also didn't get it for Brexit, and they also didn't get it when he ran in 2016. And the fact of the matter is, because in each of those elections, they mobilised people that are sort of off grid.
Yeah.
For it doesn't matter whether you're like running focus groups, whether you're a polling company, whether you're just a politician, or whether you work in the media. They're a different group of people. And if you speak to those people and you provide a message about improving their material conditions, they'll listen to you.
I wonder if the same phenomenon exists in the UK as it does in America, where in the final week of the campaign, they said the challenge for both campaigns was to motivate. It was very unlikely that the person who was undecided was deciding between Trump and Harris. It was between voting and voting for Harris, or excuse me, it was between not voting and voting for Harris, or not voting and voting for Trump. So I wonder if that constituency exists in the UK, if there is still that hardened ideological split within the people who don't vote, or if they are up for grabs for both sides.
I do. I think someone's really
hammering this,
struggling to flush something in that toilet. I think they do, because Biden clocks north of 80 million votes, popular vote, in 2020. and I think Kamala's was down to I think about 65. I think they lost about 15 million votes. Now, obviously, there's kind of existential context that it's happening in a plague. So people are like, we can't fucking have this nutbag running the country whilst it's just like, it's fine and it's funny when we're doing culture wars and we don't want...
We need the adults in the room.
Hillary Clinton in a pantsuit, but we need a man who can like interpret a graph correctly.
He's prepared to wear a mask when circumstances demand it.
Yeah. So they get rid of him. And as a result, you inspire higher turnout because it does feel existential. And then you lose 15 million voters, right? I think what you're seeing there is the erosion of the Democrats' base. Now, obviously, there are people who stayed at home because it's not as existential as it was last time. But you'd be remiss to not discuss, for example, politics in the Middle East and younger left-wing voters, progressives. There's a very significant campaign out there, people saying, I am not going to vote for the Democrats whilst they prop up the Israeli war in the Middle East. Amongst other things. And it shows you the dangers of neglecting your base. It shows you the dangers of, there was a really good Economist piece a couple of months ago about punching hippies. I don't know if you saw it, where I think it was Duncan Robinson was basically writing about how the sort of centre, like the Blairites, the centre/centre-right grouping within the Labour Party, as every faction in the Labour Party loves factionalism, love sort of needless punishing like the left wing of the party, even when there's no need to. So like they now seized sort of the entire internal party machinery apparatus, 400 seats in a general election, but they do it because they enjoy doing it, and that can make you feel good, but it's going to come back to bite you when you need to mobilise a base to win a second term. And there's a lesson there as well, I think.
On the point of when we're talking about the embrace of people like the Nelk Boys, people like that, I think those influencers in the US have like an embrace of light misogyny. That I think creators in the adjacent creators in the UK don't really have a handle on, but the more misogynistic ones are below the radar of consumption, right? Of like in the public consciousness.
What's an example of that?
HS Tiki Toki. Are you aware of Mr. HS Tiki Toki?
Only when you tell me about him.
So HS Tiki Toki is a man who has a Telegram group.
Yeah,
it's got 499,432 members.
Fuck me. We need to get 568 more people in that Telegram channel, don't we, Ed?
Absolutely. Why?
So we can get to 500k.
Excellent. I'm glad everyone joined this group. So I'm gonna read you some messages.
Is this from Mr. Tiki Toki?
Yep. Look at the blonde tart I just smashed after the beach club.
Is there a photo of her?
Yeah.
Is it like a photo of them together?
No, it's just of this woman. Look at these sluts. Ha ha ha. Serious in a club. Then there's things like, Grace came round last night, didn't realise her tits were that big, to be fair.
These are women he's having sex with.
Claims to have sex with. Look at that fucking bunda. And it's natural as well. The 90-degree angle I bent her in weren't natty though. I can assure you that, Shan.
Do we believe that Mr. Tiki Toki is getting a protractor out when he's...
But then, okay, there's some other one. Some of my crypto holdings / preparing for the US election.
Here it is. Here's the sell. Let's go.
3 years ago, I was broke. Now I have over $500,000 in Solana, just under $2 million in Bitcoin / ETH. And so then that's him giving like crypto advice as well.
You see the crypto market's rallied highest ever after Trump announced. It's like 80k a coin now.
Quite an incongruous message.
Oh yeah.
Taking Mumsy out tonight, and then a photo of his mother. A woman who I assume is his mother.
Would you bend his mum 90 degrees?
I wouldn't bend anyone's mum 90 degrees. I don't think any mum should be bent over.
The only 90-degree angle is when I bow in front of a woman to kiss her feet, actually.
and to open the door as I release her from prison.
Sorry, yeah. Because no woman should be in prison. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Rose West?
I'm going to
Let her out.
I'm going to have to learn about some more women after I made my
Free my sister.
But there is that
sister.
like there is that a manosphere that is more underground within the UK.
Yeah.
There is those really toxic male influencers. But he's also
Can people reply in that chat? No, it's just him.
People are creeping into the main. Like he fights on KSI's Misfits boxing cards.
Yeah.
So that's a mainstream event. So despite saying like, look at this slur for transgender person.
Did I missed that one? Sorry, I got lost.
I didn't want to read it out.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. No, I got lost in 90-degree bunda. Don't we all?
Look at this.
No, you don't say it. It's fine. Bleak.
It's bleak.
Sorry, what was the point?
The point was that I'm concerned Keir Starmer is going to join that Telegram.
Ed, I'm going to tell you, I think the odds of that are low. I don't think Starmer's going to be one of the 562 or whatever it was.
What if Keir Starmer had like his own Telegram group where he was pushing? Do you think it would make him more or less popular? Do you know what I think of it? I think it would actually make him more popular.
Well,
it would engage a base that aren't currently engaged in politics. And I actually don't think people's contempt for misogyny is such that they would lose support for him.
Here we go. So I guess this is the Trump argument, right?
Because it's like Trump's Telegram group.
Yeah, vanilla man versus like being a misogynist.
Yeah,
and maybe this is the lesson for Keir Starmer: is you need to be incredibly vulgar about women. You need to face sexual assault charges in a court. You need to be found liable for sexual assault.
You need to be tried and convicted in a criminal court.
Yeah, caught on tape. Talking about sexually assaulting people.
Yeah, you need Jeffrey Epstein to say you're his best friend.
See, I think we have a different anti-nonce culture in this country, where if it like transpired that like Keir Starmer and Jimmy Savile were like on a private jet together, that would not be. Like, he's not winning an election after that.
No, I think that's true, actually.
He's already, as a result of baseless conspiracy theories, been like assaulted by a mob in the street, shouting at him about Jimmy Savile. I'm not saying that Americans are pro-Epstein.
But they're not anti. I do think, I think that's it.
Do you know what I mean, though?
I think we defenestrate people for like, and also because I think culture is so diluted in America or so spread out, and people can have different bases of power. Versus, you get a whiff of nonsense about it. You are stripped from your ITV tower.
That's true.
Yeah,
I think as the British people are like generally pretty forgiving.
Do you?
Unless you're a nonce.
Who do we forgive?
Most people. I forgive you every day.
Okay, but you're not the British people.
Yes, I am.
You're a British person.
British?
No, you are. But you're not. I think the British people at large are quite unforgiving.
Do you?
Well, think about like the sidebar of shame. I think
but that's the Daily Mail.
Who clicks on it?
Yeah, but just because you like fucking looking at a 50-year-old in a bikini, as is your right.
As long as you're not in prison, it's okay.
Look, as long as you're not posting it in a... was that Discord or was that Signal or Telegram? As long as you're not posting it down a Telegram channel, it's fine. But that's just being nosy. That's like, what do you mean? You don't need to forgive... Well, sidebar of shame is just like old celebrities in bikinis, isn't it?
You've committed the sin of being old and daring to be in a bikini. It's like, who does she think she is?
I'm not sure I draw the parallel. I think we forgive. I think if you ask for forgiveness, you get it.
Who?
I just think you do.
From us?
Yeah. We are British people.
But you're talking about the British people at large, not like British people. Unless you were talking about like British people, which I think is a different...
What What is the bar at which you would no longer forgive me?
That's a good question. I think being a paedophile is pretty
No,
clear.
I'm look, we do this like every 6 months on the pod. It's like, Ollie's a nonce.
I don't think we've ever done that.
You've definitely done that. You've definitely done that. I think that's beyond the pale. We don't need to.
Thank you for finally saying it.
I won't ask for forgiveness if that's the case, right? I won't do it. No, I will willingly go to jail, right? Fine.
Fair cop.
Other than that, where's the limit?
I think if you stole money from me, like a substantial amount of money, I don't think I would forgive you. So somewhere before that.
How much would I have to steal off you before you didn't forgive me?
Like a few grand?
That's pretty forgiving.
Yeah.
Because if you said, I think you'd be fair to say a tenner. If I walked past your desk, opened your wallet, and just took a tenner out of it, that's mine.
If you open up my laptop, go to my encrypted keypad, and took 10 ETH from me,
emptied your Solana wallet,
HS TikTok.
Yeah, that's quite forgiving.
That's quite forgiving.
Several grand,
but maybe it's lower. I don't know. Well, tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you whether I'll forgive you for that or not.
What about like a serious assault?
Oh, I don't think I would forgive you for that.
Not you.
Of anybody.
Like, I don't know, on Friday, I get in a fight in a pub. I one-punch assault someone.
Wow.
So there's ambiguity here. Because,
Right.
One punch, maybe I didn't mean to kill him, but unfortunately, his head hit the pavement.
I thought the point with one punch killing was they never mean to kill them. And it's like an unfortunate accident.
Well, I thought the point of the campaign was
they should be
if you throw
punished
one
more.
punch, you're entering into the marketplace of fists.
Yeah, but was that just like heavy? I thought that was just like we need to be more
Did that
punitive in
campaign
this
get
country.
passed into law?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because it was just like we need to impose tougher sentences on these
Rightly
people.
so.
It wasn't because obviously killing people is already illegal.
The pod's anti-nonce, but we're pro-scrapping, I think.
Pro scrapping?
Yeah.
Are we?
I throw one punch at
When was
least.
the last time you threw a punch?
Never in anger.
Never in anger?
No, just cold, calculated. Me tying like a bandana around my head.
Someone's like, right, mate, you and me. Outside. 25 minutes of meditation. It's like, fucking hell.
Yeah. Like a Ronin. Like a wandering swordsman.
You've lived like a samurai for years.
Yeah.
Just to distribute the perfect punch.
Deep in the Mind Palace.
I think if you do that, you win that fight because the person's like, what the fuck is going on?
Because they go and have another pint. You just stood in the car park meditating for 20 minutes. No need. We've been going for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're gonna have time to do justice to the fan-based football violence in Amsterdam.
But you've done justice to that already.
Yes, absolutely. So, well, obviously, we posted about the story anyway on Instagram. So people, if they're not familiar with what we're talking about, we're basically about the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans causing a bit of a ruckus in Amsterdam, and then a big old fight ensues. But we interviewed a guy called Sam Diss last week, and the interview will be live on YouTube, I think later today. All about football violence.
The English disease.
It's good. Well, actually, I thought it was good. I'm not sure if you thought it was good.
The interview?
No, sorry, the podcast itself, The English Disease.
I liked it.
Oh, I thought you did it.
We did a discussion about it. We didn't have the same conclusions about it. My main issue was that it suggests that football violence does not exist in Scotland. Although that's not even true at all. There's a Scottish guy who plays quite a large part in the podcast.
Yeah. But it's good. It's insightful. I mean, I just encourage listeners to go and listen to that podcast anyway because I thought it was great. But we talk about football violence, why it happens, and the kind of not through the lens of the war in the Middle East, but more broadly about class. And it's a really good listen.
Why men fight.
Yeah.
Why men like Oli are donning bandanas all over the country. Putting on their G's.
Why are men carrying single gloves and slapping each other across the face with them across Britain?
There's a dueling culture happening.
Yeah. So listen to that, and that will kind of, I think, probably sate the need for us to talk about it. But yeah, I think that's broadly it, Ed.
Yes.
I think we stayed pretty on track there.
Oh, well, there's
Pretty on
been some real deviations.
The first 10 minutes about the OnlyFans girls.
And our numbers.
Yeah.
Then we brought it back. It was quite tight towards
If you
the
just
majority.
shag someone for a minute, does that count as sex?
I think so.
Good.
I think
That's good. Because if it's not to completion, can she say she's had sex with 1,000 men?
I think
I'm
yeah.
worried about her logistically. To do 1,000 blokes in a day, I suppose it doesn't have to be in a day. You know, if you get the stimulants and caffeine consumption right, you could roll. Presumably she wants a Guinness World Record though, so presumably it is for 24 hours.
Do Guinness certify that?
Just one bloke there. Like, it's over to come on.
I think from a brand perspective, Guinness might not want to touch that.
Let's find out.
Guinness World, always Googling Guinness World Record for
shagging.
For shagging. I think
There must be like a verified top shagger.
the person who's had sex with the most people.
So that's different.
Did Wilt Chamberlain not have sex with like 1 million women?
No, I'm Googling right now. You can't Google as well.
I'm talking and Googling.
Right.
Wilt Chamberlain.
Guinness World Record, sex.
Wilt Chamberlain
hours.
sex. Wilt Chamberlain.
It's 919 men.
Wilt Chamberlain claims to have had sex with 20,000 women. Which I don't believe.
In 2004, Lisa Sparks, who had been married to Jeff Sparks, why have they called out her ex-husband like this?
Cuckboy Jeff Sparks.
Becoming the Guinness World Records chief cuck. So she'd been married for 9 years, and then after divorcing, broke the world record for the most men slept within 24 hours. She was able. This is just a tweet. This isn't Guinness, because the next sentence is she was able to fuck 919 men, beating her closest competitor by 21 men.
The divorce part is circumstantial. I think that's quite just. Well, that's not really part of the story. She'd have done it sooner if she wasn't married. Is that part of it?
I think there is a Guinness World Record. 919. So I guess they must verify it. Because you can't just send them a video.
No.
Someone needs to be there, I think.
Yeah, but I wonder if there's like from Guinness's perspective, like there's probably an HR thing with sending someone into like.
Oh, she's a porn star. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Most recent title of her most recent film?
1001.
No. We'll give you one more go.
Fuck zone.
Not bad. Gigantic face smothers too.
What?
Yeah.
What's that about?
I think it's about her boobs.
Oh.
Because her other film is called Juggies, according to this search. I'm going to have to go and talk to the internet provider here, aren't I? Yeah. Yeah.
But they're on the big screen, pal.
Cast that one up there.
Yep. The rest of the video is going to be a split screen between that and us talking. Should we call it there?
Yeah, man.
Dreadful image.
Let's get out of here.
Okay.
A pleasure to podcast with you as always.
A pleasure. Anything to plug?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Subreddit?
Yeah. See you in the subreddit.
Yes. Looking forward to meeting you there.
Leave a review on Spotify.
Yes, or any other provider, audio provider.
You could. Thumbs up on YouTube.
Thumbs up.
We like that one.
Comment. Engage.
You got anything you want to plug?
The Financial Times.
Right.
It's a good newspaper.
I agree. Any of your own work you want to promote?
No. Oh, I think watch the video from the protest outside the US Embassy.
Yeah, check that out.
I think you enjoyed that.
Cool.
Thank you, friends.
Want to draw a line under it there?
Yes. Line drawn.
Goodbye.